Hi folks, with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about, I'm coming back to the Minneapolis riots. And this is as much as this is an enforcement operation to capture illegals and deport them and that sort of stuff. It's more importantly than that, it's a propaganda war. And even if all the illegals out of Minneapolis were deported, or most of them, if the propaganda war is lost, then every enforcement operation to do with deporting illegals from here on in will become more difficult and more difficult again, and so on. And so it's vital that the Trump administration wins this, or at least neutralizes the effect of the propaganda on the other side. Now, right now, in my view at least, the left is winning the propaganda war. Again, fully supported by the international media class. And the NGO class, the activist groups funded by all this sort of stuff. They're pretty much all the big money and the big activist forces are lined up on the side of being anti the enforcement operation, and by extension, of course, anti-Trump. Now, the coverage is outrageous. The main news outlets, the coverage is absolutely outrageous. It is one-sided coverage. And for example, just looking at just recently, a few hours ago, whatever it was, a shooting of a man. So a man comes to a protest. He's white guy, American citizen. White guy comes to a protest. He's a nurse, so we can imagine his leftist sympathies would be quite acute. And he brings a gun. Apparently he's got a permit, but he brings a gun and he's going to go protesting on the street while carrying a gun. It's probably not a good idea. Then he interferes with ICE operations. They attempt to detain him, and he decides to struggle and resist the arrest. And again, not a good idea. Why are you even there, for fuck's sake? Why are you there carrying a gun? Why are you resisting arrest when officers are trying to detain you? So all these, but the media isn't reporting any of that. He was just cold-blooded shot. Some camera angle, for example, some camera angles show ICE officers beating the man to the ground, savagely beating him, and then shooting him to multiple shots are fired. Some reports claim the guy was only out buying ice cream. He was only out just for a walk. He's got a license to carry the gun. So what's the problem? He didn't do nothing. He was murdered in cold blood by fucking Hitler. And this is the sort of the reporting that, and also the downgrading. The Trump says ICE are there to deal with alleged illegal aliens. Many people say it's just racist and fascist. That many people also say that illegals should be deported. There's nothing like that. This is glossed over. It's just purely a racist, evil Trump Nazi fascist thing. That's all it is. There's nothing other than that. Nothing to see here. And the people that are out on the streets are just brave, stunning and brave freedom fighters fighting back against Hitler. And this is the narrative that they're spinning. And just in Australia, I look at the media outlets. This is I suppose you call it legacy media, but the mainstream media, and they cover 94% of not including online news, but they cover 94%. They're all in favor of the protesters, the rioters, and so on, because and they all say the same thing, and they're all scripted in the same way. What Trump is doing is unwarranted, it's necessary, it's evil, they're arresting little babies by Hitler, and they're very much pushing narratives that simply aren't true. There's not a word or an opinion or there's nothing that Trump says and that sort of thing. But it's sneering. There's a sneering tone every time that even should it be mentioned that they're deporting illegals. but most people say it's American citizens being beaten by Nazis. And this is a continual sort of media narrative. Now, whether I go to Canada, Australia, or Britain, or Europe, or pretty much anywhere, the media narrative is all the same. It's a wicked, evil, fascist, Nazi, unjustified, racist action by the racist, Hitler-Trump administration. And there are people fighting back against such evil and such wickedness. They are stunning and brave. And therefore, they're to be admired and so on. And they're going about their stunning and brave work, doing good things, and then they're being cruelly and evilly fascist Nazi shot by swastikas. So this is the coverage. Now, whereas the bar for proof and evidence is very, very low, if not non-existent. So they were running with the story of a 5-year-old being arrested when that was fully and completely debunked. Suddenly it just disappeared from all the news. Okay, that's no longer useful. That story is no longer useful for pushing our propaganda narrative. Gone. Next. And they're aching and itching and begging for shootings and whatever else to occur, so they can then use that as another. Look, shooting and no reason. She didn't do nothing. Renee Good didn't do nothing. Oh, she didn't do nothing. She's only a kindy picking up little kids, little girls, wearing TV shows. The lies are just legion. And the influence, some say, and so the evidence bar for pushing their propaganda narrative is nil. But if on the other side, if a law enforcement supervisor says, well, 1,000 of our agents have been assaulted by rioters, then there's rigorous, brutal fact checking. He says 1,000. It was really only 999. You lying fucking fascist Nazi. Gotcha. So again, very, very high bar applied to one side, very low bar on the other. And if it wasn't for X and a couple of minor news outlets, we wouldn't know what was going on. We would assume that the streets were awash with fascist swastika waving, Sieg Heiling Nazis oppressing little black lesbians. That's the only story we'd get. But putting that aside for one moment, that it's vital and essential that the Trump administration wins this propaganda into action. The other side knows it. And you can tell by the way they go about things, they think they can win this propaganda. Even if Trump succeeds, or the Trump administration succeeds in getting most of the Somalis out and all that sort of stuff, the illegals and this, even if Trump succeeds in that, if he loses the propaganda war, it's the equivalent of an all-round loss. And the other side know this. They know, and they know they have to win this. And if they lose this propaganda war, then the Trump administration can steamroll across the whole United States, getting rid of illegals en masse, and they will do anything to stop that, frustrate, harass, and undermine it. Anything. They will tell any lie, and any untruth, no matter how grotesque. They'll do it, and they will do it knowingly. The issue here is to win the propaganda war. That's what their sole purpose is. They don't give a flying fuck about Somalis or illegal this or so and so that. They don't give a fuck. But they know the propaganda war, this propaganda battle, and it's vital that they win it. And they're playing for keeps here. Again, any lie, any untruth will do. Even if it's an untruth that only survives for a few hours until it's debunked, they've still got the screaming headline. Nazis killed little black baby. I mean, they've still got the headline. And that's still a win, in propaganda terms. That's still a win as they would see it. And the truth and accuracy, facts, don't care. This is a propaganda war, and they're determined to win it. Now, the facts are not on their side, so they have to tell outrageous untruths in order to gin up the hysteria, but they're prepared to do it. And right now they're winning. But why are they winning? Why are they winning now? Because in my perception, at least, the DOJ, the ICE and whoever's running the operations, they're so fucking sloppy, and taking an arrest warrant to a known activist lesbian judge appointed by Biden. Why would you do that? You fucking morons! Why would you do that? It must be a fifth column or something operating inside the Minneapolis office of the Department of Justice. They think, I know what we can do. We have to do as we're told. The head officer said, you've got to take an arrest warrant, get it signed by a judge for arresting, one of the folks that stormed that Christian church. You've got to do it. So how can we fuck them up? We got to do what we're told here. I know. We'll wait until Judge Lesbianberg is on duty tomorrow at the court. We'll wait till that. We know she's going to refuse it, and we've done some quiet background inquiries just to make sure she won't sign it. So we'll go there and give her the arrest warrant and go, oh no, we tried, Pam, Mr. President Trump, we tried. Look, we took it to the judge. The judge wouldn't sign. It's not our fault. It's the judge. Look, it's the judge. And you've got to assume this is contrived. Out of all the judges they could have gone to, whether they had to wait another day or do this, it doesn't matter. Out of all the judges they could have gone to get that arrest warrant signed, they go to one who they know will point blank refuse to sign it. And that's, I think, 2 of the people arrested. This has happened, and they're released and they're back on the street. Now, these sort of fiascos and silly fiascos just seem to be continually part of the overall ICE operations administration. It's not fucking good enough. You can't fuck things up. You can't make these silly, time after time, you can't make these silly mistakes and expect to win this. You've got to be much tighter, much sharper, much better organized, and must be looking at all the angles and moving forward on that base. That's the only way you're going to win this. You're not going to win it any other way. And then you're reasonably promptly taking all the activists off the street and making it harder for them to operate. Why aren't you arresting the people that are funding it right now, today? Why aren't you arresting them, and so on? They seem to be very, very slow in finding these people. Now, it's not, again, I can find people that are funding this operation. I can do it just from my lounge room here in Sydney, Australia. You're saying that the FBI can't do it? I mean, really? And maybe they just don't want to do it. Maybe they don't care. Maybe the people put into it are just so useless that they fuck everything up they touch. Or maybe there's a fifth column inside the FBI and inside ICE, inside the Department of Justice, which is subverting everything that Attorney General Bondi and the President are trying to do. That's the only other thing I can think of. I don't believe people could be this incompetent this often over such an extended period when the stakes are so high. So there must be some sort of fifth column that's sabotaging everything. Well, what else could it be? I'll be interested to see your comments below. You've been with Tassos today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.